Lawrence says Trump is a modern-day Caligula, Emperor Caligula. His talk about invading other countries is like Caligula's proposal to make his horse a Roman consul. Trump is the modern Caligula. I was thinking about Trump today. Actually, I was reading some passages from 1 Samuel from the Old Testament, and it's sort of around the story. David has been at this time. He's been anointed the next king, and Saul is having a very difficult time accepting that because Saul is the current king, and Saul wants to pass along his throne to his son Jonathan and to the rest, and to his family down the line. But God has chosen somebody else, chosen this David character. Now, this David character isn't presented to Saul as an adversary. David's actually ridiculously loyal to Saul, and obedient to Saul. David does everything Saul asks him to do. Plays him music to calm his mood. Then he has to dodge a spear. Leads the army in battle. This is after the Goliath thing. David becomes a great warrior for Saul. Somebody that Saul really should have been able to trust, but it was Saul's insecurity. It was Saul's insecurity, and I would argue his paranoia. I think it probably got to a place of illness, that he was paranoid that David was out to get him, that the people were out to get him, that maybe God was out to get him. And so his animosity towards David grew and grew and grew and grew and grew until David finally, just to save his own life, he fled. He had to leave. Like you talk about, Trump invading and Trump doing this and Trump doing that. The thing that really, the thing in the news this week that really grabbed me about Trump was him complaining about the flags being at half staff. So of course Jimmy Carter passed away. Former president, the 37th president. He passed away, and he passed away in December. And President Biden ordered that the flags be flown at half-mast for the next 30 days, as you do with the passing of every former president. So they're going to lower the flags to half. They do it for everybody. It's common practice. It's a way of honoring and showing respect to that person who was at one time a president of the United States. And oddly enough, there's I can't remember their names, but there are these two guys that call themselves prophets, and one fella said, they're saying that Jimmy Carter died. Well, I don't know if he just died. I think he's been dead for a few years, but they've waited to bury him until Trump's inauguration, where they could lower the flags to half-mast during the inauguration as a way of protesting Trump's inauguration. I don't know if Trump saw what these two people said, the ridiculous statements that they made, or not, but Trump's really upset that the flags in the Capitol are going to be flying at half-mast for his inauguration. He's taking that as a personal slight. That's a personal slight to him. They're doing this to insult me. They're doing this to offend me. They're doing this so that I can't have the honor of a flag flying at the top of the post, top of the mast. They're doing this as a way of trying to steal from the prestige and from the honor and from the respect that I should feel on this day. No sense of the other. No sense of, wait a second, this man recently died and this is his due. Like, the day will come, and this isn't a prophetic statement or a threat or anything weird like that, but the day will come, as it will come for all of us, that we will be buried, that we will die. The day will come. All of us will someday die. And when President-elect Trump dies, as is tradition, they will lower the flags to half-mast. They will honor him. They will show him that honor, and they will show him that respect, like they did for Reagan, like they did for Bush Sr., like they did for Jimmy Carter, and like they did for every president that's ever been a president. His day will come, and they'll do that for him. Whether they like him or they hate him, regardless of who the administration is, they will do that because that's what you do. It's not a slight, Donald. Nobody's trying to harm you, Donald. Nobody's trying to take anything from you, Donald. As a matter of fact, Donald, this isn't about you. Lowering the mask, lowering the flags isn't about you. As a matter of fact, and this might sound really strange, I might even argue, the inauguration isn't about you. It's not about the person who's being sworn in as president. It's about the nation. It's meant to be a moment in time when you see that peaceful transfer of power, when those two presidents come together in that one moment and they hand off power from one to the other peacefully. When those two presidents show up at the inauguration, the former with the new, and the former sitting there, standing there, whatever needs to be done at the moment, is I'm there for you. I'm here to give this over to you. It's not about the person, it's about the nation. It's about the office, but not about the person. Anyhow, the whole reason I bring that up, and the whole reason I bring that up with Saul, is because there are times when David, he's sent out. He's one of Saul's great warriors. He leads a company of great warriors. They go out and they do great warrior kind of stuff. And Saul sends David out, and David leads the armies from time to time. And when he comes back always victorious. And the people start singing songs. And I remember this one particular song. It's something like Saul killed his hundreds, but David killed his tens of thousands, and Saul rages at it. Absolutely rages at it. Because in that moment, David is being raised up. David is being shown an honor, being shown a respect that Saul sees to be detrimental to his own. Because it's all about Saul. Everything, as far as his reign is concerned, was all about Saul. His victories were about Saul. His defeats were about Saul. His abundance was about Saul, not about his nation. Otherwise, David kills his 10,000s. That's good for the nation that you're the king of, right? Who cares who gets that glory? It's about the nation that I rule. It's about the nation that I govern. It's about the nation whose people I'm supposed to be taking care of. That's what this is all about. So, you say Trump reminds you of Emperor Caligula. I say Trump reminds me a lot of Saul. He reminds me a lot of Saul. Like, oftentimes we will all have our moments when we'll see a little bit of Saul in us. As a leader, you sort of give up who you are. You give up your personal identity. You take on the office of the prime minister. You're no longer the prime. My wife and I were talking about Justin Trudeau, and she was saying how it's like they don't even see him as a person. He's not a person. He's the prime minister. He's set his identity aside. He set his personal identity aside, and he's assumed the role of the prime minister. In those situations, he has assumed the role of the prime minister. I'm the parish priest. People who know me as Ed, they still know me as Ed. People who know me as the parish priest, they know me as the parish priest. I can't go out behaving like Ed used to go out behaving around people who only know me as the parish priest, because that might not work out so well. You take on the office of the presidency. It's no longer about you. It's about the nation. Period. Flags are flying full. Flags are flying full. That's not about you. Flags are at half-mast. They're at half-mast. That's not about you either. It's about the nation. I pray that Trump can overcome his insecurities and his paranoia. I pray he can overcome his insecurities because it'll make him a better student. And if he can be a better student, his ears will be listening to and listening for wise counsel. But if he can't overcome his insecurities, his wisdom will always be limited to what he knows, what he thinks. And that'll never be enough. Anyway, amen.